Look, it was Michigan 30, Ohio State 24.
Yeah, I agree.
That was the game. We did a live stream. We had a bunch of people tuning in. It kind of came down to the final drive. It was a good game. It was a good game. It was a better game than we'd seen, I think, in the previous two meetings between these two teams.
It was an excellent game. I'm positive Ohio State fans feel as if Ryan Day still has not learned in terms of finding the time to be aggressive, whether it's on 4th and short at midfield, whether it's relying on a run game that wasn't doing too much, especially laterally over the course of this game, whether it was Kyle McCord taking some time once again, a few drives to get loose, and you can't blame him in that environment to get loose against a very, very strong Michigan defense, a very strong Michigan set of corners in Will Johnson and Mike Sandra still. But the story to me is how complete a game Michigan played, how much more trust it seemed like there was in JJ McCarthy, especially, and we talked about this on the stream. I had a terrific time with you, all the listeners, all the viewers watching it, how Michigan on first down started trusting JJ McCarthy. They weren't predictable. They weren't going run, pass. They were looking to play action. They had some dropbacks. They were getting creative with their first down play calling because that means there is faith on 2nd and 3rd to move and stay ahead of the chains. So I thought that was a big major turning point for Michigan, that they gave Ohio State and Jim Knowles a lot more to think about as this game progressed. And it came to pass, whether it was Colson Loveland, whether it was Roman Wilson on the still kind of sort of maybe dicey touchdown. I mean, it was an amazing throw, but the bobbling, it was ruled a touchdown. There was not evidence to overrule it. I think they got that right, but what a weird wobbly play it was that ended in 6 for Michigan. Defense comes up big with the interception at the end. This is a team that seems to be built for the big moments in a way that Ohio State just isn't. And I've been somewhat down on Kyle McCord, just that I don't think he is up to the bar of recent Ohio State quarterback play. He made throws that brought him to that bar.
Well, let me stop you right there. Let me pause you, because we asked a question on our live stream that I think really highlights the dilemma of this game.
Sure.
Your question during the stream was whether or not Kyle McCord has played his last game as starting quarterback for Ohio State.
Right.
Not whether he's going to transfer or go pro or anything like that, but
right,
whether they're going to get somebody else next year who's better.
Right. They're going to go to the portal and get an enormous name. Yeah.
Sure. He got off to a slow start in this game, but then he really settled in. He grew into the game. He found a rhythm, threw an interception on the final drive that sealed the deal for Michigan. But genuinely, throughout the course of the game, as he got more comfortable, made some really good throws. And he showed good pocket presence. We were singing his praises at moments during this game.
For sure.
The reason I say dilemma is because I feel like pinning this all one way or another on Kyle McCord does not give enough credit to the Michigan defense.
I agree. I think that's fair.
Because the Michigan defense was, again, outstanding. It's been outstanding all year. Ohio State had 107 yards rushing. They were able to make this game about Kyle McCord. And I think because of that, he had 2 picks. But I think ultimately it is more a story for me of the Michigan defense, again, dictating the pace of play, limiting what Ohio State could do on the ground, forcing him into situations where, look, he had a lot of success throwing the ball for a good chunk of the game, but in high leverage moments, namely that final drive, they bring the pressure, they upset his timing, he floats one over the middle, that's the ball game. So
it's also, by the way, just to piggyback what you're saying, I think it shines a spotlight on how far Ohio State's offensive line development has fallen, because a lot of the success that recent guys have had, be it JT Barrett, Dwayne Haskins, CJ Stroud, any of these guys, they've played behind NFL offensive lines, and especially at tackle, they've been undisciplined. We saw the rush up the middle at times get to Kyle McCord on that last play. I think it was a Michigan outside linebacker who twisted in. I forget the name. It might have been Terrell. And it's a difference maker. It's a difference maker for Ohio State. It's noticeable in their struggles on the ground. It's noticeable on the struggles that Kyle McCord has had in navigating and stepping up into the pocket. And so Michigan is a team built to take advantage of a suspect offensive line, and they very much did, just like they have these past couple of years. Highlighted a couple of years ago with Aiden Hutchinson, absolutely, but that was a better offensive line that year for Ohio State. Aiden Hutchinson's an all-pro. So that, to me, is a noticeable area of concern moving forward for Ohio State. But the story here, once again, is Michigan finding and adapting over the course of the game. Blake Corum didn't dominate this game. Donovan Edwards didn't dominate this game. Obviously, Michigan getting beat up with the injury to Zach Zinter, I think the starting right guard, who's been around for a while, sort of the heartbeat of that offensive line. it affected what Michigan felt comfortable doing somewhat, but not really on offense. And so we again, I'm going to echo the thing I've said 1,000 times this year. I think winning is a skill that Michigan possesses. It wasn't pretty these last couple of weeks against Penn State and Maryland. It became pretty and prettier over the course of this game against Ohio State. A really impressive performance from the Maize and Blue. And you just got the sense that it was going to take a superhuman 3 to 7 catches from Marvin Harrison Jr. to win this game. Anything short of that, Michigan wins. Michigan won.
And they didn't get him involved until later in the game.
Correct.
It took a while. Maybe because Will Johnson was out in the second half. I don't know. But I think you're right. This is very much a game won on the margins. It was not like one side dominated the other. And as you alluded at the very top of this little segment here, that was evident, if only through the video replay reviews. All of them were very, very razor-thin margins. Could have gone either way. I thought the officials did a good job, but a lot of those moments where they cut to Dean Blandino, and Dino doesn't want to give an opinion because he doesn't want to be wrong.
Right.
And he, instead of giving you an opinion on the call, he just kind of tells you the rules so you can make up your own judgment.
Yeah.
You know, one of those. But I agree. An impressive win for Michigan, a less conservative game plan, I thought, all told, by Sherrone Moore.
Agree.
Seemed like he was a little bit more in charge of the pace of play with some of his calls going forward on fourth down in a way that Ryan Day was not. You're going to hear a lot about...
I said it as it happened. That first half, 4th and 1 from, I think, their own 46.
It was the second drive of the game. It was 4th and 1 from their own 46. He elected to punt in a scoreless game.
Yep.
And they asked him about it after the game. He said,
great defense.
Great defense.
It's not like he's covering for something and playing field position because he's worried about his defense giving up 80. Great defense.
They asked him about it after the game. He said he didn't want to surrender momentum. Okay, that's one approach. That's sort of the Klatt approach, if you've watched and listened to Joel Klatt at all so far this season.
Yeah, the Klattopus Cup, the team that decides to punt the most in going for it situation. Momentum is fake, and it's insane.
There were other instances in this game where Ryan Day sort of elected for the more conservative approach. Meanwhile, it seems like truly Sherrone Moore was riding on the Underthink Express.
Agree.
And he went for it in moments where it seemed like it worked. He had a good team, obviously, that was able to deliver. And Michigan goes on to the Big Ten Championship. I said in the recap at the top, they're going to square off against Iowa. At time of recording, they're about a 23-point favorite. The over-under is only 35 points. We can talk about that one when we do our Wednesday preview of championship week. But a gutty win in a big spot at home, given all these circumstances for Michigan. And I thought they rose to the moment. So good on them.
I don't think Michigan's good enough to win a playoff game. Unless they play Florida State or something. I still have a lot of questions.